Hello, everybody. How are you doing? Exeter Rider here, in for another live. And tonight we have Nathan the Postman. Hopefully, he's got some technical issues at the moment. However, luckily, I have my friends in with me to help me along, so we should be all right there. And whatever happens, the show must go on, and it will do. So, who've we got here? Biker Buddy. How are you doing, my friend? You all right? Old School Motorcycles, Phil Green. Hello, Phil. Curious Goose. Pooley, I knew you'd be here because you know who else is coming on tonight. Bandit Man UK. Jim. Hello, Jim. Peaky Biker. All back home safe and sound. Well done, Peaky. Fantastic, mate. I bet it's good to be home. I expect you guys might remember last week I mentioned about Peaky doing his around the UK trip, around the UK coast. He absolutely smashed it. He done really, really well. We all knew he was going to do well, didn't we? And that he was going to make it. So, yeah, well done, Peaky. Bravo, my friend. That means I'm a tenner down, mind, but, you know, pros and cons to everything, isn't there? Who else we got? Jeremy Hollier. Hello, my friend. Ken. Hello, Ken Brooks and Lily. And I know some of you guys have been to the Bideford show today. I've seen Epic Motorcycle Adventures video already. I don't know how he done that, how he filmed it, and it was on today, and he got the video out by 6:30. I mean, how did he do that? I do not know. Right, Flat Cap Racer. Hello, Jerry. Great job, Lily. I believe that you might have met Adam today. Anyway, that's enough of that. Right, so I'm going to bring in a couple people here. First of all, I need to bring in Adam. Hello, Adam. Sorry, I caught you off guard. You just had a cup of tea there. How you doing? You right?
Yeah, I'm good.
Good.
Yeah.
How was the show today?
Couldn't find Lily earlier.
Oh, couldn't you?
Got it. No. Got it.
Oh, that's a shame. Oh,
I'll shout it for her. But
yeah, no one there.
no.
Never mind. What a shame. Was it a good show? Was it the same as last year when we went? Or
no, because you wasn't there.
So it's not the same, is it?
Not the same about you.
No.
Yeah, you make everything better, don't you? No, it was okay.
Same mode, is it?
Mm.
Yeah. I have to be honest, as you know, I went last year. I liked it, but as soon as you've done a lap, then you've done it, haven't you? It's just it's a long way for me to come for something that's a bit near.
Yeah.
So yeah. Adam, did you? Yes, I did tell you we got our friend coming in today, Quinn. You know, yeah. Let's bring in him now. Hello, Quinn.
Hi guys. Oh yeah.
Hello. Just to let you know, Quinn, you have Quinn Peaks Rider is your YouTube channel, isn't it?
Biker, almost there.
Sorry, I do apologize. Let's get that right. You're a friend of us all. You've been a subscriber and you know, become a friend to all the regulars. So yeah. Hopefully Nathan's going to be coming in. Ooh, we'll see what's going to happen there. It's looking a bit dodgy, but we've got plenty to talk about anyway. Let's talk about you, Quinn. What bikes do you ride? Let's start there.
Yeah, I've got 3 at the moment. I had a 125 that I've just sold a few months ago. So my old 125 Donkey, if you remember Donkey.
Yeah.
The one that broke down when we went to see Saddlebags in the Land's End, John O'Groats. Just sold that. At the moment, my main bike's my 650 Transalp. That's my regular bike that I go and sort of do all my dailies and all my travels on.
Yeah. And that one there.
There you go. Yeah. So that's Batita. It's my 650 Transalp. Yeah, that's me and Paulie went to have a little test run, loading all my gear on and just making sure I was comfortable with the bike, with the weight. I've got some new panniers for it, so it should be a lot better than what I did before.
Cool.
And yeah, I've also got a Royal Enfield Classic 500, which I wrongly keep calling the Bullet. That's Chris's Bullet. Lone Wally UK is in the background.
Yeah.
I've just finished they're just editing a comparison at the moment. So it's comparing the Classic 500 to the Bullet 500. So we had a brilliant day. It was with Chris, Lone Wally UK. We went out, spent the day with each other, sort of tried out both bikes. Really good, long conversation. and so that video is just being edited at the moment. So hopefully that should be out as soon as I get it done.
Yeah.
Hopefully in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And my third bike is my CX 500. Yeah, that's the one. And that's from 1979. I went out, I saw it, and as soon as I saw, it was from the same month and my birth year. We had the same birthday, so I thought, sold. I'll take it. But I've always wanted a transverse V engine, so I wasn't too comfortable getting a Moto Guzzi. They're so expensive. But also, whenever you get a Honda, you have a lot more confidence, don't you?
You do.
As it turned, yeah. And I went out with Paulie to go and see this one, and he was so confident that all the parts and everything anything that needed doing on it would just be so dirt cheap. I think he quoted a rear swing arm he saw at £79 or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, it was amazingly cheap. It was probably, after saying this, the prices all go up.
Yeah.
But like I said, it was so economical, and I thought, let me get a really old bike. It's no road tax. There's no MOT needed. All it's going to cost me is the £30, I think, a year for the insurance, and that was it.
Brilliant.
So it's cheaper to
how much? Sorry, how much per year?
The insurance was £30. Yeah,
£30.
Yeah.
Wow.
I put it down to 1,000 miles, and as a third bike, it's 30 quid. Even my 125 was £30 as well.
Oh, right. Okay. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay. Just so you know, Nathan, I can see you. Okay. So we'll bring you in any second. It's all right. Just letting him know because I can see him down there. So right. Yeah. Brilliant. So now you're quite what's the word? You're really into adventure travel, aren't you? You've read all the books from everybody.
Oh yeah.
You know your beans on that, so to speak.
Oh,
So
I've got a couple of books.
He bought me Nathan's book, didn't he?
What's that?
Oh yeah, I've got.
He bought Nathan's book for me, and he asked Nathan to write me a note, and I think Nathan's pen ran out. It was quite a large note.
Yeah, it was a full page, I think, wasn't it? I think, if I remember correctly.
Much,
yeah.
But
brilliant. Right. Anyway, speak of the devil, let's bring Nathan in. Hopefully, it's all going to work. Is it working, Nathan?
Well, I don't know.
It is.
Is it sound all right? Because I can't get my mic to work.
Yeah,
it's fine. It's fine.
It's not working.
No, don't worry, mate.
Oh,
it's fine as it is. Absolutely fine.
Have I got my beauty face on?
Looks stunning.
Thank you.
Better than these two, anyway. So you know.
Say you've not picked a great crowd.
Nathan, how's it going? You all right after that big panic?
It's not the only panicker today, so to be honest, it's consistent.
Right. Yeah.
Panic. No, it's fine.
Yeah.
All fine. Just had dinner, barbecue. And that's it. Next to, I'm in the outbuilding. I've got the old bike there. There you go.
Oh, Dorothy.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I won't tell you around. I don't want you to see what's on the other side, but what's over there. No, it's not worth seeing.
No,
so yeah, all good. Everyone's well. Sorry for being late.
Nice, mate. It's fine. No problem. Technical stuff is always a pain in the what's it. So fully understood. In a nutshell, now most people are going to know you anyway, aren't they?
I don't think they do. Actually. No,
I
I don't think they do.
Who are you? Sorry.
For those who don't, you're best known for.
Who are you?
From
Nathan, Nathan Millward, born in Mansfield, Nottinghamshire. Worked at Centre Parks, Debenhams, Burton's, Revolution Vodka, and a few other places, and didn't really have much of a career path, and still probably don't too much, but fortuitously happened to do a big trip on a motorcycle, which gave me some specific career aspect and angles. So I suppose I've done the bulk and doing the trips and the speed shop and things like that. So I suppose my life is sort of devoted to motorcycling. Come what may.
Yeah, I suppose that big trip absolutely turned your life, upside down, really, didn't it? And gave you a path, which has led you to where you are now.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so. You know, yeah, I think in many ways it has. Yeah, I don't know. I'd be hard pushed to imagine what I'd be doing if I hadn't done it. Really, I honestly couldn't even imagine. It might be better.
No.
It might be worse. But I imagine it'd be worse.
Yeah.
But,
So how did that happen then? See, I mean, I know the nutshell of it, but you split up from your girlfriend at the time in Sydney, and then you thought, "Oh, stuff this! I'm going back home." Pretty much, was it? And you rode from Sydney back to London. Is that right?
Yeah, that's about it. Yeah, that's about it. Yeah, no, just I don't know, just situation, wasn't it? Really, you know, you find yourself at times in places where you have to make a decision. And I happened to be in Australia, and I couldn't stay on a visa. That I was only on a temporary visa, and no, things weren't really working out that well. So it was actually, she said, "Why don't you ride home?" So I did, and then that 9 months later, and 23,000 miles, and the bike. Yeah, that's why the bike's relevant. It's in the outbuilding. It's here now. So there she is. It's a Honda CT 110 ex-Aussie post bike. That's not the first one. The first one I set off on only made it to Brisbane from Sydney, which is not obviously the furthest distance, about 1,000 kilometres, and then the bottom end was on its way and a few other issues. So the bike shop, who specialises in them 110 motorcycles, he sort of he knew where I was off to. And he was wise enough to suggest I started with the bike that would most likely make it. So he sold me the most expensive bike in his shop, and that was a while. I mean, yeah, but in fairness, that bike. So you can't buy them. If anybody doesn't know, you can't buy the brand new. As retail customers, you can only buy them from once they've been used in service. So the condition of them varies greatly depending on who's ridden them, how long they've been ridden for, etc. So once they get put through auction, then they get bought, and obviously people abuse them or use them or whatever. So to get one that had got 40,000 kilometres on when I got it, it was in quite pristine condition, which had been really well looked after. So that puts you on a good stead, So if you're setting off on a bike trip, really, for me at least, I wanted reliability. So that bike was by far and away the best bike I could set off on, because it was as reliable as a machine could be to be used in them conditions that it was going to be used in. So yeah, I mean, what makes a good adventure bike? I probably personally would say reliability. Everything else can be massaged around, but if your bike's not reliable, but equally, I know people, Henry Nottage, who did he went to, where did he go? Nepal on a what's the English make? Scrambler, Steve McQueen style.
Not Triumph, obviously.
No. More school. Oh, it'll come to me in a minute. They always go to the bike shows, and the bikes are like 20 grand. It'll come to me. Like a proper Steve McQueen bike, and that broke down literally every day. But he loved that.
Really?
He added an element of adventure and mystique to his trip, because obviously if you break down, you meet people, and if you break down, you stop in places you otherwise wouldn't have stopped.
It's part of the adventure.
Yeah. So for him, it made his trip. For me, it would have been, I wouldn't have got very far if the bike kept breaking down. So that to me is the main ingredient. So yeah, that bike got back to England, and then a couple of years later shipped it to New York, air freighted it to New York, then did New York to San Francisco, and then up to Alaska, and then brought it home. And she's turned a few wheels since. I did the Land's End Johnny Gross in 2017 on her, which is where the sort of guided tours started, and then 2019 when I brought the fleet of 10 postie bikes back from Australia, I took a guided group from Brisbane to Perth through the outback, and so I bought the bikes from the same guy in Brisbane who I got Doris from. He got me nine bikes, 10 bikes, and then we all flew out, rode Brisbane to Perth through the outback, shipped them back, and so I'd been doing guided day rides out, and then we'll do some trail riding and things like that. And I've used her a few times on that, but otherwise she's not really been very far for very long. So she's done about 101,000 kilometres, so 62,000 miles, and still mainly original. I can't think of too much work I've done on a. She had a top end. Where did you have a top end? Back in England after Sydney London trip, and then no, actually she didn't have a top end. Just had cam chain, clutch springs, and that's about it really. And then in Seattle she had a top end and spokes in the rear wheel. She probably had a wheel bearing since, but I mean, in the grand scheme of things, not really been touched at all.
Did you ever feel lack of power? Did you ever want a bit more? Thinking,
Well, yeah, but what do I want? Reliability or power?
Yeah.
I'll buy one chicken and one egg. I'll have the chicken that lays me reliability. If I'm honest, the power, yeah, it's an issue, but it's.
But it's part of the journey because you see more, don't you, on a slower bike, don't you?
It's just it's the offset. There's always an offset. You could. I mean, let's think of it. You could think of any single bike you could do a trip on, and there'll always be a pro and a con and offset. You could do it on a GS12, which I love that as a great bike. But as soon as I needed a tire in India, I'd be absolutely knackered. Or in Indonesia, or I had a final drive issue in Pakistan, for example. So power normally, when you get power, you get technology and you get potential weaknesses and costs.
Yeah.
So. I mean, there's a happy medium always. You could say I do think like a CRF 300 type class would be or Himalayan would be
the happy medium. Yeah,
happy medium. Yeah, a bit more cruising pace, but then it is what it is.
But sometimes it's nice just to keep things basic, though, isn't it? Really bare bones and just become. I'm never saying silly, but
I mean, for me, when I set up, I couldn't afford a CRF, even if I'd wanted one, or I couldn't have afforded I don't know, any other option. The Postie bike was a cheap, strong, reliable, short bike. So, for me, it was a perfect bike. If I was leaving tomorrow, it probably wouldn't be the perfect bike. It wouldn't be the bike itself if I were leaving back to London to Australia tomorrow. And I'm not entirely sure what that'd be, but it wouldn't be the Postie because it wouldn't fit with my current circumstances. But in Sydney, with no mechanical knowledge, a very small budget, no real time constraints, then it was like choice number one. There wouldn't have been a choice. There wouldn't have been a bike above it really if you were to filter them out. So it served its purpose as it needed to do, and you can't argue against it being, for me at that time, the best adventure bike because it got me to England. We're needing
absolutely
such
didn't fancy a C90.
Say again.
You didn't fancy a C90?
No, I mean a C90 is a poor man's CT, isn't it? Let's be honest. It's I mean I've had a C90 and I almost rode to England. Long story short, I almost rode to Australia. Sorry. Oh no, are you still there?
Yeah, still here.
Oh, my screen went blank for a minute. I had visions of me talking into the void. The original plan was to ride to Australia on a C90, so I'm not against the C90. And in many ways, it's got some different virtues. I think it cruises a bit faster than the CT. But you try green laning on a CT versus a C90, and the CT, it works better. They're a bit more robust. You've got 4 gears rather than 3, so CT for me, it's a thinking man's club. That's what I'd like to think of the CT.
What countries did you pass through? As you went.
Australia, East Timor, Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, Nepal, India, Pakistan, China, Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan to Russia, Ukraine, Poland, Germany. I can't remember.
That's right. And when you go through these countries, did you ever have a point where you stopped off and thought, you know what, I'm going to stay here for a couple of months, or did you just keep going?
It's a different trip, isn't it? I mean, that's some people seek purpose in an adventure, and some people seek eternal escape. There's people out there been traveling 18 years, and I kind of think, why on earth are you still on the road 18 years later? What on earth are you doing with your lives 18 years on the road, just going around vaguely? Not to knock them, but I just don't get it. I don't understand it. I don't understand what they're getting from that, because having built a base and a family, there's far more purpose in that than riding miles on a motorcycle, which means nothing.
I know what you mean.
So
there's so much to see. I guess that's what they would say, isn't it? But,
for me, mine was a mission-based trip. Like the purpose was England. What happened between England and Australia, almost not irrelevant, but the goal was England. So, the for me at the time, the entire idea was stopping to sample something there or there. No, my sight was on England. And I think it was largely governed by money and I guess seasonal. But then equally, just for the challenge, I did it for the pure challenge of it. That's not to say I didn't enjoy places I passed through, and I really enjoyed meeting people and the diversity of the world, and I enjoyed the moments, and I stopped to make sure I enjoyed the moments. But this sort of traveling with no purpose, no, I guess it's never appealed to me, because for me, the beauty of being on the road and traveling is you've got a single clear focus. And that's something that's very difficult to achieve in life unless you've got a very clear, life goal. But on the road, if you're trying to get a long way on a motorbike or motorcycle, that is for me, it works psychologically, because you're like, there's my target. It's 23,000 miles away, and I'm gonna fucking get there. And so how people say, how do you do it? What do you do? Almost like, it sounds complex, but no, actually, if you've set yourself a goal of, I'm here and I want to get to there, then actually the task is just leaping hurdles.
It's like you do have some like really interesting points, especially like when you come into East Timor. And one of the things for me as a reader, even from when you had your first one going postal, which is the one that you have, the original copy.
It is. Well done. Yeah. Very rare, that one.
I know. Well, actually, mine's actually even rarer, because this one, if you can see it, I don't know, it's not coming out so well.
I admire your work. Next time you get on the poster, who's that to?
It's Charlie Wilman.
Was it?
Yeah. I think I showed it to you last time I came up and I met you.
No, did he sell it? Did he sell it?
He actually had it it's in Oxfam. It was found in Oxfam.
You found it?
Yeah.
No, he's a good guy. I'd met and know Charlie. I'd say we're mates. It feels like a mate to me. He's actually a really nice chap, so I wouldn't ever say anything bad about any of their activities, because I think he's a genuinely nice guy who, like me, just took the opportunity when it passed his way. And mine happened to be on a postal bike, and his happened to be on a GS. It makes no odds, but both of us just grabbed a passing train as it came our way, and so I've got nothing but admiration, really, and in fairness, without what they did, everyone who's selling anything or offering something or doing anything related to adventure wouldn't exist without what they did. So, but
I think for me as a reader, that one of the main differences is that you don't get to see the psychological changes. You don't get to see the impacts that it has when you're going through places. Like when you come into East Timor, even going through your words and actually seeing the sort of experience you have. That's something that is something I've experienced as having an Indian background. And so being inside different cultures for me has always been a normal thing growing up. But it's interesting to see how when you're coming from East Timor, you get the shock of coming into that sort of war-torn area. And so I got Paulie laughing at me in the corner.
He started, Paulie.
I know, he just stopped with it.
No, you crack on, mate. It's good. Don't worry.
All right. No, but when you come in to actually see you going through those experiences, and I think that's what you get more as a reader, and that's what you're able to express in a book. While watching the adventure part in things like Charlie and Ewan's work, you have the sense of adventure there and that camaraderie. But what you don't get to experience is actually how you as a person change, and that's something you actually get from your books. So we can see we're along with you on your journey. When you're leaving, you're working all these issues out, everything that's happening, and as you're going along, it's sort of cathartic for us for me as a reader, to actually go and see, because motorcycle travel is more than just going from A to B. It's about going through these different places, seeing these different cultures, trying these different things, and it's about going out of your box. Even for me, I was really lucky. I lived in South America from 2003 to 2006. I used to be an anthropologist, and I spent most of my time with indigenous peoples, living in mud huts, going through different projects to projects, and actually having time. And one of the things that I really never saw, the change in myself, when my family saw a lot more of, was me going from that person when you're starting the journey to the person you're at the end. So I think even going through your books is something that helps other people like me, that helped me to go and work through the change that I'd experienced myself. So it was little things. I remember like when you walked into the hostel, like you were in East Timor, and you saw the little boys on the floor. What were they watching on the little phones?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You told me about that, yeah.
Yeah, and it was little things like that. Even going through war-torn areas, and so a lot of the places I went to, like I said, is extremely violent and just extremely dangerous. And when you're coming through that, you don't realise what it is, but it's only when you sort of come back out of that and you realise, Gordon Bennett, did I get through that? And so I think that's what I think is really the gem and the beauty of your books, and that's something that I really get from it. It's the journey is nice, but it's that your personal development and actually being able to go back and reevaluate things. It's like with Sam Mannikin's books. One of the biggest thing I got from him was that he has in his first book. He's talking about when he's in Africa and he actually ditches the GS, hides it in a couple of bushes and goes into a village, and he's there for almost like 2-3 weeks, I think he was, and he learned how to make a lot of African jewelry. And he says, look, if it wasn't for me getting off the bike and actually going off and doing stuff, I would have missed out on all these experiences. So the question for you is that, do you think that in the place that you went to, that you missed out on experiences by staying on the bike? Or is there something that you wish you'd got off and gone and tried?
No, I don't think I missed. No, I don't think. I mean, you always, when you're in 23,000 miles, there's a million experiences you've missed out on. I mean, there's a million experiences. Well, there's probably 1,000 experiences I missed out on in Braunton, in our village, just today or yesterday. So, I mean, you can't go through life thinking I missed out on lots of experiences. You just got to take the.
Is there one thing, the whole thing? Just one thing that sticks out for you, or are you generally happy?
No, not really. No, I don't. No. There's nowhere I thought, oh, I wish I could stay longer. I mean, because the pursuit was England, so I mean, there was that talk. There was that period when I tried to do the trekking trip in Nepal, and I got was Annapurna when it was a 10-day hike, and I got 3 days in. I thought, what the God, what am I doing here? I'm not on this journey to. Sorry about my lighting effect. I don't know what's going on here. I'm not actually changing.
All right, don't worry, mate. That's fine.
Strobing. I thought I'm not coming here to walk around these mountains as beautiful as they are. I've come here to ride a motorbike to England. So I turned around and went home, and same with when I went into Thailand, I could have gone east and gone into Vietnam and Laos and just seen what they were like. But did I have any, in the nicest way, did I have any curiosity at that moment to go in the wrong direction to go and see some other places? No, I didn't. But when I was in Thailand waiting for visas, I still immersed myself in, I guess, the market culture and the back streets of Bangkok, same as the back streets of Delhi, and I guess when I stayed in Kyrgyzstan and places like that. So, and then other times when I was riding, I'm just trying to think, through Indonesia, little village, and I mean, it's all kind of mud huts and mud roads through there, and I'd stop to get some food, and a school kid went, do you want to come and give a talk at our school? He spoke a little bit of English, and in I went, and I was on quite a strict time scale at that point to get across Indonesia. But I gave, you give 3 hours of your time and it puts you out of schedule. But I took the opportunities when they presented themselves. So no, I don't really feel like I missed out. I mean, as I say, there's a million things that I missed out on. It is always a way when you're traveling, you always find out about the best tourist spot just as you've gone past it. There's always those things you're going to miss out on. But no, I mean, I got to England, so did I do it right? Did I do it wrong? It kind of,
it's irrelevant. You've done it, and
it don't really matter. Yeah, it didn't really
matter. You do what's right at the time, don't you?
Yeah, you've got to. You've got to, and it's hard to keep momentum. I think that's people forget about traveling. Sometimes it's about momentum, and you have to keep bouncing. You have to keep moving forward because I suppose the hardest bit for me was in India when I got lulled by visas and couldn't get into Iran and was waiting for there, waiting. So all the momentum of the journey had been lost, and then you're like, right, I've got 12,000. Peaky, I'll ask you in a second. 12,000 miles ahead of you, 12,000 miles behind you, and you're really in the middle of your trip, and then it's really difficult to think, I've got to get going again. I've got to get the wheels moving, and so I think in a way it's easier to just keep turning. It really is easy to keep doing it. Visas, that chap just asked. I mean, I set off with 2 days of planning, so it obviously weren't practical to have everything in place. I got my carnet de passage as I went up the east coast of Australia in Rockhampton and got that sent to Brisbane. The visas, I mean, I'd done enough research to know that if this trip did happen, and I guess I'd planted a seed maybe a year in advance. So I kind of knew a trip was like this was on the cards, but just never had the right circumstances. But I knew, say, East Timor visa you got on arrival, Indonesia you got at the embassy in Indonesia, in East Timor, Malaysia you get on arrival, Thailand you get at the border, and then Pakistan you have to get an embassy in advance, though ideally in your home country, which was an issue which I somehow managed to sweet talk my way through. I'm not quite sure how that happened, but and then Russia you get in advance. So no, I've got nothing in stone when I set off, but I got the knowledge or the information to know how I did get them as I went along. I'm not saying that's the best way, but for me, I went to see immigration on Thursday and they said you've got to be out of the country at the end of the month, which was, I think immigration was on about the 10th of January. I got till the 30th, the 31st of January to get to Darwin, to get out. So when it was decided to ride home, I thought, God, it's going to take me 2 weeks to ride from Sydney to Brisbane. So I've only got 2.5 days to get my gear ready, get a bike packed, get loaded and set off. So obviously all the planning, the actual bureaucracy had to be achieved as I went along, which was problematic. And to be honest, there was a couple of New Zealand guys who not followed me. They followed a similar route a few years later, and they did the trip in 3.5 months just because they got it all organised. Whereas me, I had 6 weeks in India trying to figure it out. I had 3 weeks in Bangkok figuring it out. So So bureaucracy. I mean, bureaucracy. If you wanted to do a trip like this, is a sticking point. The actual riding is easy. Wherever you go in the world on your motorcycle, it's fairly easy because if you're on a road, then stands to reason that there's people on it, and people need fuel, water, and food and accommodation. So if you're on a road, there's all those ingredients to make the trip passable. The bits that cause the blockages are the politics in between that create the visas and everything else. What year? 2029, so ages ago. 2009. So the challenge in people's mind, and I think this is where people think of doing a big trip and then fall back from doing a big trip, is because the bureaucracy is quite heavily laden and stacked against you. So, I mean, all the answers are out there, and actually, I would say it used to be easier when it was all congregated around Horizons Unlimited.
I was going to say, is it more tougher now or easier now?
I think so, because it's dispersed, it's fragmented. The information is, it's on Facebook, it's on Adventure Rider, it's on Horizons Unlimited. It's everywhere. But 29, when I did this, every ounce of information about overland travel fed into the hub, which was Horizons Unlimited chat forum. So if you needed a visa in Pakistan if you needed a visa for Pakistan, people will be feeding in the latest information. Yeah, go to this embassy, speak to somebody. So everything was up to date and sweet and well fed. So you could really get everything you needed, where to get visas, where to get carnets. Whereas now I think it's more complicated. I mean, equally politically everything. But I mean, the problem with it is politically everything changes. So when people come and say, I'm planning on going around the world in 5 years' time, well, we may as well tear up your planning book and wait till 6 months beforehand, because you don't know what events are taking place. I mean,
in what places?
Forever, tense and got different issues depending on what nation you're from, as to whether you need a guide through. China's always different. Thailand introduced a guided service briefly. I mean, everything's forever changing, obviously, Russia and things. So the real thing to get your head around is just the bureaucracy. But once you've got that nailed, it's kind of, is it easy? It's easy.
Is it something that you need to plan, the bureaucracy side, or can you?
You couldn't. I mean, just setting off. I set off with 2 days of planning, but that's a lie in a sense. I did 2 days of actual planning. I did 2 days from not ever thinking I'd do this trip to set it off. But in the year leading up to this moment, I'd done what we all do: is sit at home and Google, Sydney to London. All right, what do I need? Okay, I get my visa. I bought Chris Scott's Adventure Motorcycling book, so I started to piece together what is a carnet. Okay, how do I get a carnet? Who administers a carnet? How much does it cost? If I can't get into Iran, how do I get around it? Oh, China. Okay. Who's the contact for China? Stantors. Okay. So, in my mind, I don't know if I ever wrote it all down. I got the pins in place. So when it came to do it, it was the big call was ringing the RAAC, the Royal Automotive Association of Australia, to see if I could get a carnet in 2 weeks' time. And that was, if I couldn't have got the carnet, I couldn't have left at the end of January. So it would have been all in vain.
Just to explain, carnet is a list of things that you're taking with you, correct?
Carnets, it's to
Bike passport.
It's a bike passport. Yeah, it's a bike passport. It's to save you paying import-export duties. So if somebody imports a bike to this country to register or ride or whatever, they've got to pay import duty. So when you're going through India, or I'm trying to think who needs a carnet, India or East Timor, when you bring that bike in, they might say, okay, so, 20% import duty on that. And then when you leave, export duty. So the carnet is designed to facilitate the passage of vehicles on a transit type journey, not necessarily overland journeys like this. It could be, there's all sorts of ways in which it's used. And motorcycle overland travel is only one sliver of how it's actually used, but it's the method you need to get through the countries that still administer it. Right. I think Egypt, parts of South Africa. I mean, for me, I need it in East Timor, Thailand, Pakistan, I think India, China. So without it, you wouldn't get through those countries. And back then, the cost of it was based on a percentage of your bike's value, which again, comes back to take a £2,000 bike and your carnet's $2,000 bike, my carnet was $1,000. Take a $10,000 bike and my carnet's $5,000. So again, the beauty. I've actually got my carnet. Give me a second.
Right.
Yeah, they tend to be quite expensive. But one of the other things is that they only got a certain number of pages. So you'll take them, go through certain countries, and if you want entrance into certain countries, you have to pay a certain premium. So it's not straightforward getting it. You have to know exactly which country you're going to and make sure you get those pages.
So that's it, really.
Yeah.
So
little bit. That's it. There, got you.
That's it. Yeah. That's a carnet, and you buy it by pages. So you can either get a book with 16 pages in or whatever. So you get to the East Timor border. They take this. They take the lower. These are rip-off sheets. They take the lower sheet, fill it in. They stamp this, and then when you leave, they stamp it out. So actually, you're supposed to give this back, but souvenir.
Yeah.
They've changed it since you can pay for an insurance policy to cover it because it just changed. That's another thing. It just changes all the time. The companies that administer it change because there was a petition to remove the RAC who previously administered it because they were seen as operating it as a monopoly and overcharging people. So this petition got formed and we all signed it. Oh yeah, let's get rid of the RAC. And they brought in somebody else who charged even more. So it's forever changing, and it's why America, I would say, is more universally popular as a transit overland travel destination because you don't need a carnet. So as soon as you start need a carnet, and the issue, I guess, not to bring in politics, but unfortunately, what Brexit's brought in is the fact that if you're going to take your bike overseas and you're not with it, you need a carnet, and it's okay.
Did you ever go to any countries that surprised you, that scared you? You thought was going to be okay and actually was a bit of a nightmare for whatever reason?
Scared me?
Yeah.
England, man.
Yeah, well, it's understandable.
Have you seen them cabbies drive?
Well, I was thinking of Parliament, but yeah, crack on.
I mean, everywhere scares you, doesn't it, really? There's places give you the willies sometimes, but not any. I mean, I didn't get. There's not any. I couldn't.
You didn't get any trouble like Bruce Smart did then, Teapot.
No, yeah, but look at him. He dressed himself up in a bloody Power Ranger suit, hadn't he? Going down, he was bound to get trouble. I could have told you he would get trouble. Bless him. No, Bruce's trip's an incredible one. Not for the fact he the first journey, but the fact he got back on and went again. He's fair play to him. A lot of respect for Bruce. No, I mean, borders are always hassle, but I think you've got to remember it's nothing personal. Whatever you look like, whoever you are, they're gonna extort you. I mean, I got extorted, as Quinn will know, from Kazakhstan. I got scares me when I go past Exeter. Exactly, I totally agree. Exeter is horrendously terrifying.
Only because I'm here. Yeah.
But no, I don't think it's anything personal. When then these border guards trying to harass you, and it's I think what you learn as you travel is you have to take a defensive stance against things like this, and sometimes you have to lean into it and push back, and sometimes you have to back off. And I guess it's that. What I think if anybody's going to talk about skill set to do this, I would say intuition is probably the best skill you could have to do a big global
people skills, I guess.
Yeah, it's soft skills because you have to. You just have to know to read situations and people and know when the situation's not right and a situation you can't win. If you can't win in this situation, you just get far away from it as possible. But
it's also interesting, I think, depending on the character of the country, depending on the one place that I've been to, certain countries tend to be a lot more, if there's wars going on, there's a lot more machismo. So you have to act in a certain way, knowing the character of the people and the places they're going through. And so especially when I was going through certain areas, which I knew people getting a dozen a day getting shot, it was stupid for doing it. At the time you think you're going to live forever. But when you're going through, you think, oh yeah, I better be a bit careful here. So someone starts doing something, and I just started creating characters, and to get myself through certain borders. So I'd have dull as a donut. I mean, be like, hello, yeah, you're right, yeah. So I put some gun in it. Oh, that's a bit dangerous, isn't it? So you just have certain. I had to make certain characters and act in a certain way, just so because when you go to these kind of places, people think you're stupid. They're not going to bother with you too much. And as soon as they say no entry, waiting 5 minutes. Oh, it's even when you're spending the entire day being a nuisance and it's getting in everyone's way, just to annoy everyone to a point, but they just stamp your thing and tell you to get lost.
Yeah, get rid of it.
Yeah. And so it's that kind of thing as well. So I think, like I said, the reason I was able to do that, one is I was a trained anthropologist, because I was able to understand the difference in cultures and understand how people react. There's a lot of it's psychology, but it was that I think it was interesting to see how you sort of changed going through the different countries, and how you actually sort of developed the same sort of skills as you went along. So I think anyone can do it, and I think the more you travel, the more things you see, the more people that you interact with, the more that you grow as a person, and the more you're able to do. Because I think when you start off, there was one really interesting book I was reading, and they were saying, oh well, this person, he just finished at university, and now he's going off for 6 months somewhere. He's going to get himself shot, and so he comes back 6 months later, being able to speak 3 languages, being able to do all sorts of things, and you think, is this the same person he left?
Yeah.
And so, and it's only once you get out and you actually start to do things, you realize how much you're able to do. And I think that's the thing that's always been incredible, especially with yourself, Nathan, and I'm a massive fan of Sam and a massive fan of Austin, and you can see that change in them. Even I think when Sam Anakin quits his job, goes over, he's standing on the Sahara and thinking, oh geez, Sam, what the hell are you doing here? And I mean, how the hell did you get here? And I think that's then incredible to see him change and really come into that role and start to sort of pick up all these things and do things he never thought he would do. So I think as humans, as species, we're amazingly clever, and we're able to adapt to so much. But when we're sitting here nice and comfortable with everything that we need, it's not the place you want to be. I think even
you're not moving forward in life, are you, when you're sat still?
Spot on. And it's only when you get uncomfortable, when you do things that you never would have normally expected, that's where your growth comes, and you can amaze yourself by the things you can do. I was even laughing with Paulie a few weeks ago, and I said, "Oh, Paulie, I'm not feeling so well. I've not been on the bike in a couple of months over winter. I've not touched a Transalp. I've come on, and I've just had a bit of a scare. I don't think I want to get. I'm thinking I want to sell it. I want to get something easier." And he was like, "Look, you're not." And so he came out. We went for a ride. Chris came out as well, and we just had a couple of hours. Lone Wally, yeah. We just had him in my ear while I was riding around, and suddenly it's like within that couple of hours, I was back riding again. So I think it's you need, just go out and actually try something, And it's amazing the things that you can do. Like I said, Nathan, it's like a starting off from there and suddenly ending up. Well, you can't see it from there, can you? Right, yeah, ending up with 4 books. That's an incredible achievement for you, Nathan.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
especially Doris.
A different cover.
Where did that come from, Nathan? Did you always want to write a book, or did you get approached, or how did that happen?
I got approached mid-trib. I was desperate for money, so I the ingenious idea to send postcards to every media outlet I could. And I sent one. I had some printed out with me here. Probably got one here as well. Riding the postie one. And I just wrote. I think I was in. Where was that? India. I'm going to say, I was India when I sent them. Well, actually, I sent them in Bangkok. No, I'll just leave Bangkok and posted them all out there. I sent one to the Sydney Morning Herald. They, I think they contacted me and said, do you want to write, 500 words, 600 words, whatever, which I did. And they printed it. And then the commissioning editor of HarperCollins was having to read that section that day and then emailed and said, I'm commissioned editor of HarperCollins. Do you want to write a book? Should you make it? I was in India at that time. I got that email. Do you want to write a book? So I said, I've been very much, thank you. At that time, and they offered advances, which I've got to be honest, paid for the last off at trip. So when I got back,
your background, you worked for a magazine as well, didn't you?
I was writing for Car magazine. Yeah. So I've done a bit of writing, So when I got back, I had to write this book, so I took their money and I paid, I'd use it to get home. So I mean, to be honest, quite up, he read the book, but it wasn't a story I kind of wished to immediately tell. I'm going to be honest, because the story was still unraveling even when I got home. So actually, when I got home, the last thing I wanted to do was sit down and reflect on the period that had been leading up to and during the trip. So it was quite a weird time, because you're trying to write your story, write a story about a book about a story that was still going. So it did take some doing. And at one point, I said, "Can I pay my advance back?" Because I just don't think I could do it. And it was just a bizarre 9 months of writing in a shed at the bottom of my parents' garden to finally produce a book, which did all right in Australia. And then it was just a long extension of the book, of the trip. And in a way, it probably was. It's took me down this avenue, but maybe it would have been better if I'd not have had it to write. But I took the money, so I had to. And then at the end of that, once I published it, and then published it in England myself, and so that's when I did the New York to Alaska trip, and that again was just on a whim. I mean, I bounced from big trip into book writing, awkward reflection, because this is the beauty of writing. It's like, all those negative or deep thoughts you've got, you're ducking and weaving them as you're going. In Pakistan,
because you're thinking all the time, aren't you?
You're going. Nothing has time to settle, and then obviously you get over. So they said, you're going to sit down for 9 months and write a book, and you've got to really cloak yourself in all this garbage that your brain really needed to have figured out actually ages ago, but you've escaped it by jumping on a motorbike. So
how did you get on with the blues? Did you get the blues when you come back? A lot of people do, don't they, after a big trip?
I think that's who I am in general, to be honest. If I'm honest, I think the exacerbation of trip and book probably just polished it, made it the perfect impression of negativity. So I needed to escape again, because otherwise I was just it was just a hotbed of hatred. And when I don't know, everyone's version of bad thoughts, negativity is going to be personal. I don't know. I never wished to self-diagnose or even seek an external diagnosis. But for me, the prognosis was that I fucking hated myself, and I fucking hated myself so much. I fucking hated myself until I could fucking hate myself no more. And that's where I was. You could so.
But to give you an idea, it was the same thing for me. I came back, and it took me almost a decade I did my main trips till 2006, and I was coming and going doing various projects. And in 2010, I said, "That's it. I'm done. I've had enough. I'm not doing this sort of stuff anymore." So in 2010, I was done with academia, and I said, "I'm not going back." And in 2000, and at that point, it took me almost a decade just to get my head screwed on. It took me and just to go through and constantly feel like, and still having flashbacks of a lot of the things of sitting there being chucked to jail. You sit there getting the crap beaten out of you, or you're sitting there and you've got all sorts of other things happening, and those things aren't going because you're marked with them, and then and you see that, and that's weighs on you every single day, and it takes a long time till you've got the right people around you to sit there and help you lift out of it, and you're ready to move on. And if you try to move on before you're ready, I think you'd make it like in your case. I think like you made yourself even worse by trying to move on. And I think that especially there's two people who came later to meet you, and those are the ones that really surprised me. How they found you. And
Who's that?
That was the two people who then came up to were you Mansfield?
Oh yeah. The Kiwis. Yeah. Robin,
yeah.
Greg. Yeah, nice guys.
Yeah. So it's like, what actually made, because you said you'd ride with them just down south, but what made you sort of continue the journey? You talk about a little bit in your book, but what's actually the motivation for you for keep on going?
Well, the alternative seemed far worse, I think. I'm not sure what the alternative quite was, but I didn't see it as, there was no alternative really. I mean, the I don't know where the alternative was. The alternative was like, I mean, so for me, I guess if I had not read the book, I'd got back from England, written the book, blah blah blah, bullshit, story, solid story, and then like you wheel, the bike feels like it's needs to get the bike wants to go again. The bike is there's a symbiotic relationship with the bike, which is why people say, "Why did you take that bike across America?" Well, why would I have gone on any other bike? That bike was that was the bike. That was the bike. That was So I mean, this bloody bike is again sat in a shed at the bottom of the garden. You feeling a bit poo about life, and then you think, right, got to get wheels turning. Got to get wheels turning. So I'd envisaged America trip would that's west, ride west. So when the guys went down to James Cargo down at Heathrow to ship their bikes back to New Zealand, it was just like, well, they teased me, they dragged me out the old doldrums and got me on the road, and then once I got the bike loaded, that was it. The as I said earlier, the momentum is everything. They got that first wheel. They got me out first, into second, into third, and now I was on my way to Heathrow. So I'm moving now. I've got my luggage. I've got my luggage. Charles, can you get my bike to New York? Yep, it's going to be there on Friday. Fucking, I'm like, oh,
get in. Yeah.
And okay, right. Book a flight, Skyscanner. Right, okay. I'm leaving tomorrow. And then you're like, oh, shit, how much money have I got? I've got no money. We'll figure it out, and then so from going from blackness, you're on a plane to America, and then it's like, I mean, that's another airplane out. I'm out of an airplane. I'm going to land in a minute. I've got no parachute. I'm in New York, and I've got a postie bike, and I don't know where I'm going. I'm going to San Francisco, and everything's big, fast, and you're small, postie, little. Nervous.
Got pulled over by the police a fair few times, didn't you?
Oh, they're curious. That's all. Curious about this little Englishman with a strange number plate. But so you have to start again. So to say, I guess in all of life skills, what we learn, we don't necessarily keep. So what I had learned from Sydney and London, I certainly lost it in the next few years as I sat at home. I lost my skills. I lost my ability to deal with the situations and deal with them confidently. So I had to start again in New York, and I mean that was quite a. That first night I slept on the streets because I messed up booking thingy, and you spent
money on the camera, didn't you?
Yeah, sat nav packed up.
No, sat nav, that was it. Yeah,
that was sat nav packed up and everything. So it's like you're right back in them. And some people would never. I mean, you talk about planning. And if I was doing this tomorrow, right, I'm going to do America tomorrow. How am I going to do it? Okay, I'm going to arrive in New York with a crap bike, with no speed, in basic clothes, with Converse trainers, with no
skateboard trousers,
with nowhere booked to stay, with no £500, like think of the optimum way in which you travel across America, and I was kind of the opposite. So, but that
You proved you could do it.
that was a sink or swim. So when you land in New York, you've just got to keep, right, okay, I've got to find a way out. I've got to get out of New York. Okay, I'm moving out of New York. I'm good. And I met someone. I met John. And John's let me stay at his place. Okay, he's given me a shower, and I've cleaned and I'm washed and ready to go. And I've got 2 days there. And he's took me out. We've done a bit of shooting, and then we go in again. And we get to Detroit. Wow, Detroit! And there's people getting shot in Detroit. And I mean, Detroit's crazy. And we go through Chicago. Okay, Chicago, and everything's. You meet people there to take you out riding, and you start to feel it. You start to see America and people and roads, and you start to get a flow for it, and know how to start to know your stance again. You know how to deal with it again. And Route 66.
I think one of the really positive one was like it was the people that you met and the amount of kindness you were shown. And I think especially like the person you met at McDonald's, was it? And he gave you the free room for the night. Chinese gentleman. Yeah.
He was Wichita, middle of where is it? Kansas. We had to go through Kansas. Dorothy.
Oh yeah.
I had to go through Kansas. So it started at Wichita, and it was about, I don't know what time I got to Wichita. Well, not late, but like 5 o'clock, something like that. I was just queuing in Wichita. It was not a pleasant enough town. McDonald's in a queue, and this guy in front of me was talking to me. And I mean, I started to, when I'm traveling, I started to look really, I mean, I don't look professional now, but I look very rough when I'm traveling. And he just was talking about the bar. He said, "Where are you staying tonight?" I said, I don't know. I'm probably just going to ride out of town and just find edge bottom, because that's what I've been doing for the first week or so, just edge bottom camping, really riverbed camping, which is difficult in America because everywhere's got a fence around it, so it's quite tricky to find somewhere to sneak a bike through and put a tent up without you getting
Forgive me, I'll be right back.
12 balls.
I drank too much before I.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, we'll carry on. So anyway, Wichita, McDonald's, I said, I'm going to sleep outside the town. So he said, no, I can't do that. He said, and this guy was on the way to California with his son who was going to university. Yeah. So he said, no, don't worry. He said, I can't remember. He said, go to the hotel and I'll book you a room. And I thought, I thought, nice gesture, very nice gesture. So it all seemed a bit too good to be true. And, maybe, you sort of have sixth sense in, is this good? It's not sure. But anyway, he just went in a nice hotel over the way. And I went to the reception. He said, yeah, bloke's just get in, book your room, here's your key. And there it was, a bed. And after a week being on the road and feeling a bit crappy, got a beautiful room. And this guy, didn't want anything. He said, I don't want to, it's not like you have to thank me, or I don't want anything out of it. But he says, I've got a son. I can't imagine him doing in your position. Makes me sound a bit down and out. He says, so I just wanted to help you out. And but I think similar to America, it's a difficult one, America, because externally we look at America, and whichever camp we're on, whatever we believe what America should be, it looks quite a divisive, destructive, violent place. And I think possibly it has potential to go even further that way. But actually, when you're on the ground and traveling, people out there, I find Americans are incredibly pleasant, hospitable, and gracious and warm. I mean, there's obviously bad there, but bad everywhere.
Yeah, it's the same thing, especially in a lot of places. It's fascinating, like especially in South America, like I said, because I've been to every country, but it's really interesting how it's a slightly different character. The way that, but there's something in Latin, especially when you go to a lot of poor places, aren't very well off. You can just rock up somewhere and going through a town, and someone will suddenly come along and you're adopted, and it's, oh, come along, we're having a family of this, and the next thing you're surrounded, it's a grandson's christening or something else, and suddenly you're having all of these food showing up, and you just got off the bike and you're stinking like anything. When I was out there, I had an old KLR 650. Funny story how I got that.
Where's this?
And I used to live in South America, so
in South America, right? Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, so I'll tell you the story. I got the KLR 650. I was out in the indigenous area, and this American biker comes past, and I was like, I flagged him down. I said, "Are you an idiot? You hanging around here for? You're going to get yourself killed. I mean, don't go speeding around here." And I was wearing my poncho, and the poncho there have Pacific markings, so that you know what you do. So I had mine. Everyone knew me. I took my hat off so everyone could see it was me, and no one would really bother him. So I got him out the area, and I said, "Look, camp here. This place is safe. No, anyone comes and says anything to you, just sort of tell him, just say this thing, tell him you're a mate of mine, and I'm staying with you." So we got him out, but I said, gave my number before he left. Look, it doesn't work very often. There's no signal in this area, but if I go out the area to the city, I'll get signal. Send me a message if you need any help. So I went to the town to get some things a few days later, and I got a message saying, "Oh, I've had an accident in this place. Can you come and take my bike?" And so I got thanks, Paul. So I went out, saw him. He actually think he's broken his leg and his arm in a tumble, smashed himself. Had been airlifted back, and so I sent him an email saying, "Look, I've got your bike. It's here when you're ready, but it's okay if I use it until then." He said, "Yeah, sure, go for it. The bike needs a bit of damage." So got him fixed up, and it was the same thing like yourself when you started. I didn't know that oil went in bikes.
Helps.
I just knew that, you just fill it up with petrol and it goes, and that was it. And, if you ever get a puncture, you take it to a shop and they fix it, and that was it. And so I sort of went from that to having that KLR for best part of 3 years. Amazing, and I did so much stuff on that bike. What was I saying before?
You were saying, I heard you whispering earlier about this Himalayan 450, but we'll talk about that later.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, let's move on. Well, we could
spotted
talk about
that,
this all
didn't you?
night, but yeah, let's move on a bit. Yeah, Himalayan 450. You
Of all
spotted
people
one,
to
didn't
spot
you,
it,
Nathan?
Nathan spots it.
Say again.
Of all the people to spot the Himalayan 450,
I'm not the only one. It's been spotted quite a bit actually. I'm looking at the YouTube comments. A few people have said seen it. Yeah. No, it's 100%. It is what I to be honest. I see it. I saw it 4 years ago during development, so I know it's happening. So yeah, no, it's exciting. I think it's exciting. I think it's time they bloody told us what they're doing. But no, I'm just greedy. I need information because I think it'll be a good bike. That I think it's good. It's good.
It's nice to see a new engine as well, because obviously they've had the 650s and the 411s, and it's nice to see something. Even though it's only another 50cc or whatever it is, 40cc, the numbers are up on the torque and the horsepower, aren't they? Quite a bit, so should be pretty good.
Yeah, I think it will. I think it'll be
water cooled as well.
Yeah, I think it's got everything you want, really. I think they're on a mission. They're making better bikes. I mean, the bikes that I had on the fleet last year, the 650s and 350s, were really reliable. So I think, and I think there's a hungriness, an appetite to dominate, and also so far they seem keen to stick to this cost value pricing system structure. Whether that will change now, Royal Enfield's taking over the importation, I'm not entirely sure. I've got a feeling it was MotoGP, the previous importer who's just been sacked by Royal Enfield or disbanded, who were maybe who were forcing these lower prices. I don't know. It'd be interesting, but I know MotoGP have picked up Vosges, who have just released prices for their 300 rally, which is incredibly cheap, 380. So it seems consistent that it's MotoGP who are doing the cheap pricing. Whether Royal Enfield, now they've taken over importation, will continue that, who knows?
Well, they've cut out the middleman, really, haven't they? If they're getting
there's a middleman of
MotoGP, well, they are, aren't they? Because it's one less share of the profits
it won't make
to go.
So cheaper, though, will it? No, it's like anything. In any big company, they'll just push the money around the bank. Around the spreadsheets, won't they? The bikes will still cost the same amount of money. Royal Enfield will still make more money. They'll just hopefully they'll be able to control maybe the supply better. Although it's an absolute disaster at the minute with warranty work, because there's no system in place to replace MotoGP systems. So if you need warranty work doing at minute, forget it. So it seems like it's been a complete disaster of an handover. So if you've got a broken Himalayan or a broken Royal Enfield, I don't know. I don't know what I'd do, but I wouldn't expect much hope from dealers. Yeah, it's a bit of a sad state of affairs, really, that they didn't handle it better. But it's difficult. These things are difficult. But the 450 Himalayan, yes, it's going to be, hopefully. I mean, it's 40. If it comes in at 40 brake horsepower, that's a fair old whack more than the old one.
Yeah.
So
just give it that little bit more. Not
I
that
think
there's
it'd be a
anything
lot
wrong
more.
with the 411, but yeah, it just gives
Yeah,
it
I
a
think
little
it'll give it
more.
a lot more. To be honest, I think 40 horsepower versus 24 is big. Make a big difference to its rideability. Whether it'll lose some character, I think that's what people are worried about, and then equally lose its price point. I think the Himalayan sold initially when it came out at $4 grand because it was so it's so cheap.
Yeah,
If it comes, it's got to be. I think there's got to be more scrutiny over it if it's premium priced, i.e., matched to a KTM 390. And I suspect it. I'd be surprised if Royal Enfield don't pitch it the same price as KTM 390 at least, because on paper at least, or the initial appraisals, it would be a better bike than that. 21-inch front wheel, longer travel suspension, hopefully a long stroke motor, travel friendly, up straight out of the crate. It's got better ingredients already looking than the 390. So we'll see. I know it's exciting. I mean, but there's nobody else doing anything exciting in that class, which is the only shame. V-Strom's 250 got discontinued very quickly versus 300 not got anywhere. On the CRF 300, yeah, that's all right. We need more. That's why I'm quite excited about that Vosges, because it's a 300 CRF rally equivalent for 3,800 quid.
Yeah, and those are being distributed by MotoGP now as well.
MotoGP. I saw their Facebook page say that the bikes are being uncrated as we speak. So I'm desperately keen to get hold of that Vosges, just because I think it's a bit like when the Himalayan came out. It was just like, wow, this thing is so cheap. You can excuse a lot of flaws when it's that cheap. So that if the Vosges is 90% as good as the CRF 300 rally, they're
on a winner.
A CRF 300 rally, not at $6.5 grand is what they are now. Plus, Honda can't even seem to get enough build any. I mean, if you want a CRF 300 rally, wait 6 months to get one. I mean, it's. I don't quite know. I know COVID, blah blah blah. Chips, can't get chips. I don't know. I mean, that's one thing I say Royal Enfield has managed to do. They've managed to build motorbikes. So if you went to a Royal Enfield dealer and wanted a Hunter or Interceptor or a Continental, they've got one. They
can get one. Yeah.
If you go to a Honda dealer, you want a 500X, forget it. You want a 300 Rally, forget it.
Next year, yeah.
Yeah, it's like if you want a CT125, never ever. Don't even ask. If you want a DAX, we've got 10 of them that nobody wants. I'm only thinking the DAX hopefully will sell well, but I'm not convinced.
I'm not convinced. I think, as you all know, Nathan, and I don't know if you guys have ridden them, but the heel toe shifter is very unique, isn't it? And a lot of people don't.
You've got to blip.
Got to blip and change down right at low revs as well.
Not necessarily. You just got a rev match.
Yeah.
You've got to think of the gear lever is a clutch lever rather than a gear lever. So if you've got a downshift, it's up on that. Is it to change down?
Yes, the other way around. Yeah.
It's on the CD. So you got to click up and then blip, and then let the clutch go. So your revs are synced. Once you do that, it's actually a very smooth gearbox, but it's not easy for people to jump on and ride. I mean, I've got, there's Doris Speed Shop's got 5 CT125s for people to ride on a mountain trails. So people are arriving, they've never ridden a centrifugal clutch, and they get on a centrifugally clutch bike that's inverted. I mean, you imagine how many wrong gear changes there are in a day.
Yeah.
I have to wear earplugs because I can't bear to listen to the
little screeches on the back wheel.
I don't know. I mean, people say, why aren't they bringing in the CT125? Because Honda is stupid is the only conclusion I can come to. I mean, why they've... I know there's EU regulations. The CT125 wasn't designed to pass it, but the fact that they made the DAX EU European compliant, I don't know. Somebody somewhere in a lot far distant place has gone, I know what the Europeans want. They want the new DAX. And everyone's gone, actually, no, we don't want the new DAX. We want the fucking CT125. But the juggernaut that is Honda is so... It's like an oil tanker. They can't... we can't change course. 10 years ago when we made our 10-year plan, we didn't conceive that anybody in Europe would want a CT125. Everyone on the internet wants a CT125, but 10 years ago we said we needed a DAX, and that's what you get in, whether you like it or not. And I think if there's going to be a downfall of the Japanese motorcycle industry, it will be the fact that they're so slow to react to trends and how quick the trends change nowadays. trends are changing all the time. And the beauty of the Chinese, bless their cotton socks, is they so quick at copying and almost improve. They've got to the point now they can copy and improve, copy and improve, copy and improve. And I think, the speed at which they can do that now means that their gestation period between building a bike, thinking of a bike and building it is 2 years. Honda is 10 years.
I think part of that is to control the market, though. I think they hold back. I mean, for example, the NC 750 didn't have cruise control and things like that because they're trying to they're drip feeding us, which is the idea. That's my opinion, but
I don't deny that they probably are. But what kind of? I don't get that as a strategy. We're going to drip.
Yeah, I personally think the strategy is just to hold things back, and they can have constant improvements every year. Then, whereas the Chinese say, no, we're going to give them exactly what they want straight away.
I think if even looking at the ground, it's in my local Honda dealer here in Derby, they've closed and now they've moved up to Royal Enfield. So when I did actually go and talk to them, I said, what's the thing? How can you stop doing Hondas? And they said, look, even as a dealer, we've got loads of issues ourselves. I'm not going to go into too much with what he said. But I think it's also, so I think it's also then to consider it's even with a lot of the dealers themselves are just as frustrated as us. And people coming in and saying exactly what we're all saying. So I think it's not just that it's an issue on our level. There's also things at the middleman level. They're stuck, like he said, it's a super tanker. They're going in a direction, and nothing's moving. So it's more the onus on us just to keep on sort of forcing the things that we want.
Keep putting the pressure on.
Yeah, that's all we can do.
Yeah,
or buy other bikes. If this Cove comes out and MotoGP can supply as many as it can sell, and the 3.8. I mean, I don't see how Honda's, controlling the market is a good thing when a rival comes in there and just sells out.
Yeah.
I get it. It's a bit like when the manufacturers say to the dealers, you've got to invest in 50 grand's worth of store frontage updates or you lose your license. And then the dealer goes, well, we can't afford 50 grand. And they go, well, okay, then we'll take your ability to sell Yamahas away, like they did in Worcester. You think, I don't get that logic from Yamaha. It's like all or nothing. You either spend 50 grand on new signage or we don't have any sales.
Yes, correct. It doesn't. A lot of it doesn't make sense, does it?
Doesn't make sense, because you've just lost a sales stream. That does not make sense. It's not like, okay, so we're going to open another shop. No, they just lose any presence in Worcester. And services. I'm sure to somebody in the business that makes a good business sense, but I don't see as a consumer or any element of motorcycling, that's a good thing. But
Adam, I don't feel that you have to stay if you need to go, mate, because I know that if you are on a time scale, that's fine, okay? And if you've got any
bank holiday tomorrow.
Okay, mate. Oh, good. That's
He's down at Fate, aren't you?
Sorry?
You're down at the Fate tomorrow? Fate
yes,
tomorrow.
I am. I was just thinking about that, actually. Probably see you there.
I'm going to ride. I need to do some riding tomorrow.
While we're talking about the Chinese stuff and good Chinese stuff, Motor Marini, one word.
Yeah, you've got one on test, haven't you?
I haven't now. I've got one coming. I've had the STR and I've got an X-Cape.
You've been sleeping around.
But they're great bikes, though, aren't they? Maybe not. Then I like them.
Great is a strong word.
It's strong, but I think it's relevant for me. I think they're bloody brilliant, personally. But
bloody brilliant.
Yeah,
I've got one. I bought the Mi X-Cape with my own money in it. I've done 7,000 miles on. I think it's a really good bike. That's what I say. I think it's a good bike. I don't think it'll sell. I don't think it'll catch on because it's neither feast nor foul. It's neither cheap enough or exciting enough. But I think it's proven me really reliable, and I enjoy riding it. And I wish again the bike. I almost don't get it. Like, there's a guy in China, a team in China who build a bike. There's a bike, and then they give it over to the Europeans to distribute and import and market, and they just seem to like nothing gets achieved with it. I just don't see how they're going to break through to sell bikes.
I mean, they're not putting the budget. I don't think they're putting the budget into the dealers. They're not getting them out to the dealers or getting enough dealers.
Why have you bothered building a bike if you can't find somebody to sell the bloody bikes?
Exactly.
Is it because yes, I think that you're right. The bike is good. I've been very impressed with mine. As I said, I've done 7,000 miles. I'm taking it Picos Pyrenees Alps in September, Ireland in next week. You know, it'll do some miles. I've got every faith in it. And I guess as a replica of a Japanese bike, the Versys 650 or whatever. I think it's really robust. It doesn't feel like a cheap,
Solid as a rock, isn't it?
Yeah, solid as a rock. It gets hot in summer. You've obviously given it back just before the heat wave, which is a good thing. Also, she'd have.
Oh, I thought it was getting hot though.
Yeah,
I know what you mean.
I mean, yeah, the heat of it's a bit of an issue. But I just wonder how they're going to sell it. And I think, working as a journalist, as I've done, and being familiar with the importers, the journalists, and that's the industry side of it. I think I hate to say it, but the people tasked with selling motorcycles to us are terrible. They don't have any idea what people want or what they need or how to connect with them. It's like the people who run the industry aren't motorcyclists. And actually, I know that's true because I know often. I mean, I once went out to bloody Dutch, who does the kitting, who sponsors Norley, clothing wise, Revit. Went out to Revit to do some work on their magazine, and I said, what about the clothing design, the bike clothing design? He said, yeah, he don't ride a motorbike. I thought, fucking, that sums it up, doesn't it? That you got the guy riding the design of the kit and ride the bike. But I think that, I've just from having stands at the NEC, from talking to the heads of Bauer and all that, I don't think any of them have got the passion that we fucking have for motorcycling. And
I totally agree.
It upsets me because there is people out there with the right message and the right delivery of the product would buy into what we enjoy. But because it's run by fucking suited people who don't ride motorcycles, they will never be delivered the right message because it's just run wrong. And I know that's easy for us to sit here and say on a Sunday evening on a bit of a vlog, but I've spent 10 years in the industry running roughshod in my own weird world, doing my own weird trips and things, but also working professionally with elements of it, whether it's journalists or manufacturers or whatever. And I don't see any of it that gives me confidence that they know how to make this joyful thing we hold dear last any longer than another 10 years because they're not capable. Because like everything else, it's built in fighting and bloody, I don't know.
Run by idiots. Yeah.
Run by idiots. Paul's in charge. But no, it is. And it's only upsetting because we care about it, doesn't it? That's
we care about it. And for me, I put a lot of work, as you do, I put a lot of work into, if a bike is good, then I'll push it. But then you think, well, why are you pushing it? Because no one can buy them.
Nobody can buy
I mean, the amount of people that said to me, where can you buy a Motor Marini STR in Devon? Well, the closest is Thor.
Thor's got them down in Cornwall, hasn't he?
Yeah, Thor is the only people. Yeah.
I got mine from what's it called? Motor Den up in Stafford.
Yeah, but
it's a long way, mate,
yeah. So where do I'm pushing a good bike, but then you think, well, come on, get the dealers set up. Because
and then you've also got this. I mean, let's highlight the Vosges story when they bring out that, I believe, 500 and then discounted it 1 year on, and then
do you know what happened there?
The Sinis GT8. I don't know. Well, you probably know. I don't know. The Sinis GT80 that went out within 9 months or 10 months. These cowboys.
That was a terrible bike, apparently.
What?
I think according to the review that you did, you weren't too happy with it. The 380, yeah.
Yeah, it was shit.
Still gives me nightmares, that bike.
It looked the part. That's the thing. I think what you're saying is that it looks the part. I mean, even like here, even going back to Derby again. I mean, even now in a small city this size, again, we're only 300,000. We've got Nottingham next door. But if you want certain brands, if you're after something, we have to go outside as far as Birmingham. I know it's only an hour down the road. But when you consider the size of the market, you really think, one sec, if I've got to service my bike, I've got to take it an hour, drive it down, hang around in another city for half the day, and then sort of have another hour riding back. And so even for me, when I'm looking at my next one, I'm not now looking at the big four so much, because there's neither a Honda, Yamaha, there's a Suzuki dealer, Power Slide. But even when you go in, they're not there aiming at. They want customers who are going to go spend the money on the new bikes. They want to do the whole, paying every month route. But there's a big, massive problem, I think, especially with secondhand bikes, for the general masses of us who are actually wanting to go out and then spend. You've got 3-4 grand in their pocket and think, I want to go out and have a nice bike. For those people, you leave the dealers far away. Even as a second-hand route, it's extremely difficult. Whether you're looking down at Facebook or looking other places. I mean, the only reason I got my CX500 that I got in January was only because I had Paulie with me, and Paulie knows the bike inside and out. He's a massive fan of the CX. Otherwise, I probably would never have bothered. And so, unless you're lucky enough to have a Paulie living nearby, I mean, for me, still someone who's quite naive, someone who doesn't know his bike so well, someone who's just getting a hand now on the basics. Even this whole market is in such a state that it's not. I mean, if I was an 18-year-old now looking for a bike, and someone told me you need to spend 4 grand to get a bike, I'd laugh in their face and go straight towards getting a car. And so I think I think the problem is not going to be so much the cost of the bikes. The problem is going to be that there's no 25-year-olds, even young kids, coming into biking, and they're being priced out to such an extent that come 20 years down the line, the market's potentially not going to be viable. There's not going to be any of these people that we desperately need getting in, having the fun, having the passion, and then going on to become designers and actually going into an industry.
So there's not many places where you can actually train to ride a bike now, where you can actually learn, especially where me and Nathan live.
Not too many, is it? Maybe it's just not viable. Maybe that's reality. Maybe motorcycling is just not viable. It's not a viable business. Maybe I don't know. It's saying there's no young mechanics or anything. I mean, that bit next hurdle for motorcyclists to find a mechanic, because there doesn't seem to be any apprentices. Everyone's in the 50s, back to retire.
It's a lot of overheads with training skills.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
it's easy to say. I suppose it's easy for us to say it, but it's hard to make money out. It's hard to make money these days with everything that's getting taken out of it. So maybe bikes, because you just said it, Quid. Actually, 4 grand. Well, actually, 4 grand were what we used to pay for TZR 125Rs back in 1998. 25 years ago, we used to think 4 grand were, a reasonable price to pay for a new 125. You just said it. Would you go out and buy a 4 grand bike now? No, it's too much. But taking into account inflation, that's probably like 7 grand. So
thank God for Royal Enfield. That's what I say.
Yeah. But so I don't know.
Give you my case. The only reason I actually got back into biking and got 125 was the brand Sim. So it's SYM Sim. A little Sim 125. And I got that brand new for £2,500. I was looking around ages for a little 125. I saw loads of CB 125s. I sat in them, and they were and it was like a little monkey bike for me. It was way too small. I just wouldn't fit on it. It looked like an idiot. I thought, I'm not going to sit on one of these. And the only bike that I did find was physically large enough. There was a Varadero, but it was so expensive I couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
I had 2.5 grand in my pocket, and I was thinking, why can't I buy 125? That fits me. And so the Varadero at the time when I was looking, the cheapest one was 4 grand. And so I think things like the bikes that people are genuinely looking for, people who are taller, someone's a bit heavier, they want to have something like a Varadero, and those bikes just don't exist. So the Chinese market have been coming in. And again, Sim's actually now discontinued, from what I understand. They sell it in Greece as a 200cc trail bike, which is massively popular apparently. Over on that side of Italy and Greece, but they don't sell it up here. So I think we're really getting shortchanged in the UK, and there's a lot more issues now that are going to potentially be in the future. If it was me coming into biking today, I would look at the silly amount of money I've got to spend in actually getting a bike, getting a license, sorry, and then after that, the silly amount of money I then got to go and pay for a bike, insurance. I'm going to turn around and think, well, let's go and stay on 4 wheels. And so I'll never get to have that. That's why we were at Flash last week, and I was looking around, and I don't think, with the exception of Pooley, I don't think there was a single person under 45, under 45, 50. Everyone was that in that sort of 50s range, in that age gap. And so it's not looking good.
Just last week, my 16-year-old, he's on about getting a bike now, and I said, well, just wait a year because you don't want a 50. You know, that's not going to get you to college and back when it's, I don't know, 20 miles away. So he's going to wait a year, and he's looking at the KTM RC 125 at the moment.
Nice.
And I said, well, you know, that could be hit and miss. So
there's a R125 now, which is $6,000. Apparently.
Oh, that's what it was. Sorry, that's probably what he was looking at.
Yeah.
And I said, I'd rather, if you get a lemon, then they're really quite bad, aren't they? So I said, well, pick something else. But even the insurance, 1,100 quid, you know. So he's thinking,
So to give you an idea,
for a car.
How long is it going to take you to save at $5,000-6,000 for a 17-year-old? How long would it take up to save up that much money to get themselves a bike, and before they start doing anything else? $5,000-6,000 at 17. That's 17. I thought I had 20 quid.
You have to spend that though, do you? You don't have to. You could go out and buy. There's Innovas and vans. There's a Van Nibbles who brought 1,500 quid. Loads of bikes for $1,000.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody needs to go out and spend $4,000 to get a motorbike. I think there's just not the appetite. That's the problem because nobody even thinks about buying a motorbike. It's not. I don't think it's. I mean, for me, it's not the price. I think it's. I don't know what it is. I guess A, there's not people asking about motorbikes, and B, there's not people saying, well, actually, you know, here's a nice van 15, you know, that you can buy 1,500 quid. I bet the insurance on that's 400 quid. Yeah, that's actually that's cheap. I don't think that's but there aren't people asking for it because maybe motorcycling, A, it's not cool, is it? I mean, we're not cool. I don't care what we think. We aren't cool. Adam, I've seen you on your
I feel pretty cool.
You don't have me every day.
Lane on you, on your lane, and you're not cool. And I'm not.
Yeah,
cool.
no, true, yeah.
You know,
and on the
cool.
ice, yeah.
We're not cool, are we? That's the problem. We're not cool. Bless us. We try to be. We think we are. I've got brown boots with my jeans tucked in, but I still don't look cool.
I've been trying to get your daughter, even Pillion, and she won't. She goes, no, it's fine. She just looks at the web. I don't even seen on the same side of the street as my dad, let alone sit at the back of his bike. You know what I mean? So I think it's gone from when we were younger. It used to be something full of adventure, and that was one of the things I was going to say. That even going back, there was just always, with me, biking and travel has always been this big sense of adventure. It's going and fulfilling something important inside of you. It's been a way to get out and break out your box and go and see the world and you know, have a special feeling inside you. But I think especially with the, you know, now what I'm watching on YouTube, I've been watching someone watching first class seats or $10,000 going to Dubai, and like I said, going and even looking at the number of people who are even our subscriber levels, compare it to India. I mean, there's people who are in the millions over there. The really big people over here. The biggest people I'd say in the country, in the UK, maybe 200,000, while in India you're looking at the millions.
Yeah.
And so I think even looking at that comparison between the number of people who are into biking compared to here, I think all the exciting stuff's going to come from those countries. Anything that we get are really going to be the scraps sort of thrown off, or going to be as a consequence of the development of the biking culture, bigger biking, Indonesia, Thailand, Vietnam, India. The stuff that we're going to get, if you do get anything that's economical, it's going to be from there, and that's where I think even our future is going to be. And there's not going to be gone are the days where you could go and get the light, easy to ride bikes like Nathan. You're known for your light bikes, and even though you've had the 1200, you've still seen your preference go back to the light bikes. I mean, what would you say to someone today who says that you've got to have a big bike to go do all the things? I want to get a bigger and bigger bike.
Oh, I don't know. I'm not a zealot. I wouldn't say you've got to get a small bike. I'd just say you've got to get a bike that suits you. You know, and if a GS 1200 suits you, get a GS 1200. I mean, I think I'm all in favour of bike compatibility, which is probably, you know, there's people who argue you should get a small bike, there's people who argue you should get a big bike, and they're both wrong. Because you should just get the bike that suits you, and if
that you want at the time, yeah.
I mean, I do see people massively overbite who would be better on smaller bikes, but then equally, if people suit and fit and can manage a big bike, crack up. Yeah, it is difficult because you just got to. Everyone's got to think what they need from a bike and go accordingly. But I was just going to say to Adam, what was Bideford Bike Show like? Did you go today?
Yeah, I went today.
How was it? It must have been heaving, was it?
Yeah, it was heaving. Yeah, but I didn't really enjoy it because, well, basically none of my mates went. So
but
I was walking around like a loner.
Oh.
Yeah, I ran into two people that I know, and that was it pretty much. So
If I'd have known, I would have gone across the bridge.
What about that photographer? Was he there?
didn't even see him.
Oh, did
He
you
sent
not?
me a message saying he was going to stalk me because I went with Exeter Rider and some other guys last year, and they got recognised and I didn't. So I bribed the photographer to take photos of me and act like I was some big celebrity. And I didn't even see him this year.
Oh, that's a shame. Yeah. Yeah, benefit shows all right. I mean, once you walk around run once, you've done it, haven't you? So yeah, for me to come all that way, yeah.
There's so many bikes, but I hardly ever see them round just like day to day.
Crazy. They come out on a sunny day, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, bless our little fair weather riders. I do. It's nice to only have to ride in summer, isn't it?
Yeah.
Where's everyone off to? Where's your next ride out then? Where are you going next? Gwen, where are you going next? Where are you going to ride your next bike next?
I'm going to Scotland to the NC 500, but I'm camping. I'm going with my riding buddy Paulie. He's convinced me to do camp the whole lot.
Yeah.
And so we're going on. We're going with this DeVille about Transalp. Got 7 days. He's got a DeVille, yeah.
Love the DeVille.
Yeah, the thing is that we've got a constant joke. It's like even on the corners, he's outdoing me, and I just trundle along, and it's just like you'll be amazed how nippy that DeVille is. I've just given up. I had a good mind to get CBF. I was going to get a Lita bike just to try and catch up with him. I've given up. I still won't do it.
It's all in the corners. It's all in the corners, isn't it?
Yeah, solid bikes, aren't they? The DeVille shaft drive and all that.
Shaft.
Yeah,
can't go wrong with a Honda.
I nearly bought a Gullwing over winter. Escalante, 1984, but I bottled it.
Pick them up quite cheap now, can't you? Gold Wings.
It wasn't a bad price, but it were islands. Islands. Yeah. I just thought I've got a Land's End Johnny Groats trip in July. I thought that'd be.
Can you tell us more about that Vegas trip? Can you tell us more about your Vegas trip, or is that still in the works?
Well, the Vegas trip. Oh yeah. Well, it's kind of in the works. Everything's always in the works, isn't it? The plan would be fly into Vegas, and it'd be a 2-week circular journey of adventure through. It'd be on rental bikes, unfortunately, just because the price of shipping has gone silly bananas. But it'd be like Monument Valley, Grand Canyon, Zion, Death Valley, out to Durango, $1 Million Highway. Where else were there? Moab. Yeah, basically like a Wild Westy type. It'd be hotel. Actually, going to go posh because it'd be looking at late October. It's just a bit of a recce kind of trip. I want because before COVID, 2020, I got planned. I did my first coast to coast America trip with a group in 2018 where we shipped 12 bikes into New York, and I took them east to west over a month, and the second one was due 2020, but obviously got cancelled because of COVID. Then it was put back to 2021, got cancelled again, and then by 2022, I'd given up even trying with that sort of thing. And the price of the bike shipping had just gone ridiculous. It's gone from it used to be about $2,000 return for an air freight to bike in, boat it back, air freight into New York, air freighted back from LA, which is, in the grand scheme of things, not bad for transit in your bike. And compared to a one-way rental, say from Eagle Rider, it was much cheaper to take your own, certainly over a 2-week period. But it went from about 2,000 up to 5,000 last year. So it just cost prohibitive, and it's reduced a little bit. But my main concern with it, when you ship a load of 12 bikes into, say, JFK Airport, you have to kind of rely on the charm of an Englishman to negotiate the slightly bureaucratic corners, corridors of the JFK airport. You have to go into one office and do you need a gun for safety as for the wildlife? No, you don't need a gun. But so yeah, there's a little bit still hasn't probably recovered. No, it's bananas, exactly. Yeah, so you had to sort of overstep things a little bit. Then you eventually be shown to this warehouse where 12 bikes were there in wooden crates, and they'd say, "Well, where's your van?" And you'd have to say, "Well, no, actually, we've come to ride them away." And they go, "Oh, okay, no problem." And then have you got a crowbar? And you'd be like, "No." And they come with a crowbar, and all 12 of you would be like unpacking these wooden crates, excitement, like ultimate Christmas present. And then open crates, drag the bikes off, and they say, "What are you going to do with the wood?" And we're like, so you've always got these soft situations to negotiate. And I think with COVID, that's made I think there's just going to be a lot more, everything's going to be a lot more regimented and maybe authoritarian. So I think trying to chance 12 people freighting bikes in. So yeah, just renting out of Vegas, loop round 200 miles a day, 180 miles a day. Epic sights through America. I mean, that's what you could call it, epic sights through America, because it'd be all the best riding roads in that Utah, Arizona, Nevada, Colorado quadrant, which for me is like the best part. That's where America is. It's
That's where C90, isn't it? C90 Adventures.
Yeah, Utah.
Yeah. Obviously, Ed's out there. Yeah. I mean, Ed's in his Jeep. I mean, you might see Ed in his Jeep.
Yeah.
Bloody hell.
That was brave. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah.
Do you have any preference, Nathan, whether you do abroad trips or trips in the UK?
I mean, it's nice to do a few more abroad ones. Obviously, with COVID, I haven't done anything. I haven't been overseas since 2019, but I've got a family now, toddler and stuff. So if
changes everything, really, doesn't it?
It does change everything. So I mean, Ireland next week the 10th of June is the first time I've been like out. And I've got one to the Alps in July. That's to do the Stella Alpina with the group.
Have you still got places for these trips?
No, full.
All gone, are they?
Yeah. Hey.
Yeah. I was just going to say, if they're not, then plug it.
No. I've got places on. If anybody's got a Himalayan, I've got Himalayan hoedown next weekend in Dulverton.
My mate has over there.
Nice. Yeah, he's asked me.
He's busy. I was going to ask him if he wanted to cook some bacon for me.
Don't ask me to do that.
I get chips out of him. Yeah.
and also we've looked at Morocco and stuff like that. Morocco, so I have to think. Okay, so I've turned motorcycle into a job, but like anybody, I still get bored by a job. So I still get bored by doing the same thing over and over again. Which, whether it involves motorcycling or not, it still gets boring. For the last 2 years, I've been taking people around North Devon on postie bikes, which is great, but I don't want to do it all my life. I think it's boring. So
that's one question I was going to ask you, actually, Nathan. Is obviously the speed shop's gone now. I guess there's pros and cons to that, isn't it? I mean, it must be a weight off your shoulders, but it was nice to have at the same time, I guess.
It's not gone. It just had to close from where it previously was, and it's currently without base. Yeah, so it's closed. Yeah, it had to change because we've got to a point where I've got 30 bikes and massive overheads, and then it's no funny. If every waking hour you've got to be doing something to try and earn £1 to pay the bill that's going out tomorrow, there's no fun in that, whether it involves motorbikes or not. An hour there, morning, noon, and night, whether it's cleaning bikes, fixing bikes, riding bikes, paperwork in bikes, taxing bikes, MOTing bikes, servicing bikes. It just never ended with 30 bikes last year. And it just got too big, too fast, too much. And the premises weren't ideal. Well, there are a few issues. There's always issues, isn't there? And and the problem with the seasonal business, which is motorcycling, is you make your money in the summer and then you lose it all in your winter period. And I didn't want to go through another one of them, so I moved out end of October and was going to sell the bikes, and then I ended up keeping the posties. I kept the 10 old posties I've got, and still got the 5 new ones, the 125s. And I've been operating. Got a mate on Chivenor who's let me use a bit of space, and we're trying to sort out a new space to move into because I do like having a base. It's like anything. It's trying to make it find the
business is tough.
Yeah, business is tough because when you start getting into the adult world of VAT and corporation tax,
Yeah.
all that sort of stuff. I don't, for somebody whose brain is best suited to a simple task of riding a motorbike, or thereabouts, to start dealing with corporation tax and that and insurance, health and safety, and you need another brain. You need a different brain. And I admire. I tell you, I admire any business that's managed to get beyond the point of 1 personnel, get to 2 personnel, 3.
Oh, I'm with you 100%, mate.
Because
I've been on my own for 25 years doing my business. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think people appreciate until they've done it how much money goes out just running a business. And I mean, that's gobsmacked me. So.
And when you, just to talk a bit boring stuff, but when you scale a business from 1 person to 2 person, like you say, it's a big step. But in fact, going from 1 to 2, you just become more of a headless chicken because you're looking after them, feeding them. So you got to literally just get another 3 or 4 to make it worthwhile. So
you need a clone of yourself, but obviously that's not possible.
At one point,
I admire anyone who's got.
At one point, he had the post office. I did that for 5 years, and I had 5 staff. And so, even with that, like you said, you spent most of the time fixing all the mistakes everyone else was making, and then I spent all my time just playing catch up. I never had any time to sort of take a step further and actually grow things, go out to talk to more businesses, going out to actually try and sell more products and so forth. I spent all my time just trying to fix all the mistakes everyone else was making and doing all of the nitty gritty stuff, which you'd think that everyone else would do. But then I think at one point, it was a year 3, I don't think I had a single day off in 3 years. And it's not until my wife came along and she just said, I had back trouble. And she said, you need
25 years for me.
Yeah. Come on, let's all get together and give Steve a day off.
To be fair, I tell you what self-employment has done for me. Obviously, I've been self-employed since I was 21 in the building trade. It does teach you a lot overall, but where I am now is that I'm a kind of master of my game. So it means that I can do sort of, work for 2 weeks and have a week off doing motorbike stuff. That's how I run my channel. Pay shit. I've never been so skint in all my life. Well, not skint, but on the edge a bit. But at the same time, I'm doing what I want to do. I want to build the YouTube thing to make a part-time job out of it. That's my plan.
That's priceless.
Fair play. Yeah. It's hard work. Yeah, I mean, like you and Bruce and people who I mean, I've just you do. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot.
I mean,
of work.
Bruce is full-time.
All the time, isn't he?
I don't know how he does it, but
I don't know how he does it. Yeah, so I'm always sometimes envious of those people who've got jobs, get paid a wage, and get to turn the brain off on a weekend and stuff like that. I mean, every morning at I don't know what sort of, I'm up at like 4:35, like, all right, brain's on.
Yeah,
I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and you're like, oh, but you get up that tired, you can't do anything anyway. So you sit on the sofa and just go, oh. So
one question I did want to ask you, actually, Nathan, is, I mean, we skipped through it 3-4 times, but in September, I mean, in the past, I've always done lots of trips by myself, but I'm actually going to take my first 1 month in Europe by myself in October. So just me on the bike going for a whole month. Everything else, like you said, you sort out all your basics and every day. But I think one of the things that I'm not so sure about is how I'm going to manage myself. I mean, any advice for me? Someone who's going away for their first long trip on a bike solo. Any tips or things that I can do to keep myself motivated?
Are you asking me?
Keep myself going?
No, no joking. That'd be pointless.
I just don't be too hard on yourself. Don't set too big an expectation. I always see people saying, I'm gonna do my first trip and it's gonna be 16,000 miles in 3 weeks. And you think, oh fucking hell, that's gonna end in disaster, isn't it? So I think just aim for modest ambitions initially, and always have. I suppose this is counter to everything I did with Sydney, London, but that was an idiotic one-off. I would say I would always have plan the first few days just to keep you moving, really. No, I don't.
because
Tom,
the idea
yes.
for my trip is to actually go to all the world. I've done about there's 49 World Heritage sites in Spain. I've done about 9 of them already. So my plan is in the month to go to as many of the 40 World Heritage sites in Spain that I can do. I like that sort of thing. I like the history and the
Okay, yeah,
those
that's
kind of stuff.
interesting. That's an interesting angle. Yeah, yeah. I just again, but you said you asked me earlier about do you miss not by moving forward, did you miss out on experiences? I suppose same with you. You've got to be careful that you don't go right. I've got to see 49 or as many as I can, and then you got pew 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 from one to another, and you maybe don't absorb everything from each place. I would say you probably from what you said, you'd be better going to 5 properly rather than 20 passing through type thing. So maybe just don't just set yourself any targets that are going to be detrimental to your enjoyment, really. Because if you want to get something, I was just going to say if you get to one place and you think actually I want to stay another night, you want to have the flexibility and the freedom within you to say, I'll stay another night, and not think that I've got to get, because that's I will say that's what I'm guilty of. I am guilty of saying I need to get there, therefore I'm going to. Actually, I do have one regret. You've caught me out, you bastard.
Sorry.
No, you made me realize San Francisco to Seattle. I rode that in 2 days, 2.5 days. It was like 1,100 miles on a CT 110 so average 400 miles a day to go up this beautiful coastline. I rode into the dark, I really, and I don't know why. I had no reason to get to Seattle immediately. I didn't need to. It's not like I needed to be there that day, but I set myself this stupid challenge, and I missed, and I did, and obviously I saw the beautiful coastline and that as I went up it to Oregon and that, but I didn't really enjoy it. I didn't really take it in because I set myself a silly target, and that is my only regret. Why did I do that? Why did it just take 5 days or 6 days or 7 days? So that's what I say to you. Asking for advice and say, just do it at the pace that you enjoy rather than the pace that you need to do it to achieve it.
Because one of my things, I've had a stroke in 2020, and as a result, I'm really limited. I can't do so much. I get tired really, really quickly. And that's one of the reasons I only tend to ride at the pool. I always travel with no one else. No one else will put up with my slowness. I just go from ice cream place to ice cream place sort of thing, and more for the reason that
that when you come down here.
The rest.
Well, so I know loads of people in trouble with you.
No, but any chance I get. Oh, I'm a little gag first. I missed it. I was just going to say,
can't see it anyway.
I'm having some rum. Häagen-Dazs is excellent for vintage, but I'll leave it. Anyway, no, because of that, I've actually forced, and I struggle to do more than 200 miles a day.
That's a good number there. I think 200 is more than enough.
I get tired. I can't do any more. I need to sit down and actually rest. I just physically don't have it in me to do more than that. So, that's one of the things my illness has really forced me. And the other thing was I did a course with Sarah. You can plug that a bit as well. And it was really, really good for me. It really helped me to stop looking at my diet and a lot of other things. I made a video, but I've lost the whole footage. My little kid took my hard drive somewhere and it's vanished.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but there was a video coming. I have to start it again. So, and I've gone back and done things just to sort of help myself. So yeah, I think it's my weakness. It's like I'm trying to use my weaknesses as opportunities and sort of thing. But I think even a lot of times, especially when I'm used to being in a busy shop, and having lots of things to do. What did you have? How did you deal? Oh, hello, Saddleaxe.
Yeah, Saddle.
How did you go from that busy time in Sydney to suddenly jumping on the bike? How did you manage yourself going up the coast? What sort of things? Because you must have things going at 1,000,000 miles an hour when you're leaving.
What do you mean manage? As in,
manage in your head, you sort of yourself.
Oh, I think if you've got urgency, you haven't got time to think. So I suppose that's why if anybody's a bit unsure about it, I always say just get your first night booked, because then you've got something to aim for. So I think it's the danger is allowing yourself to have that doubt to second guess. Oh, am I doing this right? Or should I be going this fast? Or should I be going this far? Or how far should I get? Whereas if you just say, right, this is my ferry. This is the time I arrive in France. This is the place I'm going to stay that first night. Bang, and then
Gives you that carrot.
That's exactly. That's done. That's done. Then even if you get off that ferry and you're like, oh, I'm a bit. Because the worst story I heard is, I felt really sorry for the guy. He wanted to do Morocco, and he rode down through Spain, Tangier ferry, crossed to Morocco, nervous, gets off the ferry, freezes, like just doesn't know what to do. He's got nothing booked to anything, paralysed. What does he do? Gets back on ferry and goes back to Spain.
No way.
Yeah, and that's his trip gone because he didn't know to go. He couldn't. He got nobody to pull him and he got nobody to push him, so he just turned around and got back. So if he'd have just got on Booking.com that minute, right? There's a hotel 50 miles down that road. It's 2:00 in the afternoon. I'll be down there for 4 o'clock, whatever. I'm off. Sat nav. Poof. My brain's in turmoil. I'm shutting down. But I can still ride a bike. Right, blinkers on.
Yeah.
And then once he's got 50 miles out at Ferryport, decompress, have a night's sleep, bit of food, wake up, right, new day, off. But he didn't do that, and it's only a small error. There was only a minor error he made, but it was for his trip. It was a sort of a fatal one, and bless him. I don't know if he ever went back, but I can see how that happens.
But that again, going back a bit boring, but going back to the self-employed thing. One thing I've learned is persistence. And that's how I run my channel as well. Sometimes I don't want to. Sometimes you
don't want to talk.
It's a lot of pressure to review.
You don't want to talk to us on a Sunday night. Is that what you're saying?
No, not at all. But no, it's you've got to want to do something, haven't you? And when you're going to come up against roadblocks, and then you just have to persist and get over them, don't you?
Well, he wanted to do it. There's no denying he wanted to do it. He just didn't know how to do it, and he'd done it wrong.
Yeah. But if that was somebody who had a bit more, persistence, you kind of just bluff through it. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, true. Yeah. You're right. Maybe you didn't want to do it. But I think it'll be fine. You just basically get off that ferry and ride. You just ride.
Yeah.
Because even when I was in South America, it's like even a lot of the times other trips I've done. I was in India in February, and even there, I know I had rough points. I've got to be here. I want to go and see this. I've got this to do. So I didn't know anything in between, but I had rough ideas of things I needed to get done. And so I just kind of worked from point A to point B, roughly, however I was going to get there. But I think it's when in this trip, it's so open, and I'm by myself for the first time in a long time, and I'm so used to having all the kids running around, having lots of things to get done in the shop. I'm constantly there. I'm normally here till 7 o'clock. As soon as I'm done at 7, I rush upstairs, and I'm with the kids, and so I'm used to just being constantly busy. And one of the things that I found, especially that's one of the reasons why I'm going with Paulie, is just when that gets taken away, I feel so lost without having the family there. I feel so lost without being away from them. So I think there's an element of fear in it for me as well. How they're going to manage without me, because you become arrogant, and I get arrogant. Oh, they can't do without me. They can't manage it without me.
That for me is my major tie. Why? I'm too busy anyway, to be frank, to do traveling as much as I'd like to. UK based, so I haven't got the energy to go abroad. But it is because I've got the family, got 3 kids and a missus. If I go away, I want that money to go towards a family sort of holiday. I feel too guilty to do it on my own, unless I went on a Nathan trip. Then I'll be happy to do that, pay the money, and
I'll tell you.
It's different.
Roving reporter. You could be like the fluffer.
It'd be a good video. Yeah, I'm up for that.
I told my wife earlier about Nathan's Vegas trip, and she was like, "Just go." She's pushing me out the door pretty much. Just go. I said,
"Yeah,
if I can get the money, I'll talk to you at some point about it." But
if you go, Adam, I'll go. There you go. There's a deal.
There you go. We'll all go.
You can pay for me.
And Quinn.
Yeah.
Nathan, we'll start wrapping up in a minute, lads. So I kept you long enough.
Yeah. I'm going to go.
I just want to give yourself a bit of a plug, Nathan. You're going to the ABR this year, aren't you?
I bloody am. I am.
I'll see you up there.
So I'll see you there. I'm taking 6 postie bikes. I'm going to try and devise a booking system where, and I'll take people around the off-road track. On it, because I think they'll be perfect bikes. Because the ABR is a great illustration of why the old big adventure bikes aren't very novice friendly on a wet, muddy track. As anybody who's been around that track on a wet day will testify.
Oh yeah,
those bikes go down like dominoes, and obviously the posties, they'll cut through that mud like a knife through butter. So I'm just going to take 6 bikes and do regular laps around it, just to give people probably who aren't confident to go around on their own bikes or on one of the tester bikes a chance to go around the track. And, so I'll be there, a little store, I can't remember, it's Q3 or somewhere like that. You'll know the stand because it'll look absolutely crap. Because I've had no time, no budget to do anything. So it will look crap, but it'll have bikes.
No one will care, mate. If you're there and the postie bikes are there, that's all they give a shit about. So.
And then, that's it. I'm going to be at the Armchair Festival as well. We're doing a tour around the Devon Cornwall coast, and it finishes at the Armchair Festival. So if anybody's going there, I'll see you there. If anybody wants to do Land's End John O'Groats in July, let me know. That's trips on. I can't remember what date. I think the 8th or something like that. Saturday. It's a week camping. Land's End John O'Groats. That's it really. Yeah. And look out.
And if you tell people about your 4th book as well, your children's book.
Oh, well, I thought my 4th book. I did a children's book, Amazing Adventures of Dorothy. That was a lockdown project.
I got a picture of it somewhere.
But my 4th book actually would be. I've mentally prepared. No, that's wrong. I've mentally prepared a 4th book, which will be a trilogy, the 3rd part of this, the Postie Bike Chronicles, I guess. But it'll be so I'm planning a 3rd book. It's just writing. Books take a lot to write. You take time and energy, and if you've got other things to do, I find it very difficult to focus on.
Do you self-publish, then? Do you? Or?
I have done. I mean, I haven't printed any for ages. To be honest, again, it comes down to how much capacity have you got in your system to do everything you want to do. And with the speed shop, I didn't have time to do any books or anything like that. So,
the book's really good. My kids have really enjoyed it.
Oh, thank you.
And just one sec, that just can't see it. No, you can't see it. You can see it. You can't.
Yeah, because
maybe hold it back a bit more.
Yeah, that was just a lockdown thing, actually.
But my kids have really enjoyed it, and it gets them into bikes. But so if anyone wants to buy some for the kids, you can find.
Yeah, I've got some of them.
Amazon, Nathan.
Yeah.
Right. It's on Amazon, is it? Can you buy them on Amazon?
No, I think it's only on my website. But
that's all right. What's the website?
Is it? I don't even know what it's.
DorothySpeedShop.co.uk.
Is it on Nathan Millward? I don't know. I give up selling books.
I wish I never asked now.
No, I know. I think it's NathanMillward.com. I'll tell you about it. If you give me a call,
we'll Google it, and then do that. Right. Okay.
But if someone does buy it off the website, you do little messages and things.
You do.
As long as you don't run out of pens. As long as you don't run out of pens.
I add value. No. I mean, I will. Yeah, it'd be nice to get back into books. I do. It's a nice thing to produce a book. It takes a lot of effort, but it is worthwhile. I mean, that's what I admire people who sit and produce a book, because it's a terrifying thing to put the mind on paper is hard. So anybody who's written a book, no matter how many it's sold, how many it's sold is almost irrelevant. It's the fact that you've actually done it. So full admiration to everybody who's written one.
No, I mean, I've done academic text, but I think one of the things I found is when you look back at it years later, you think, well, I don't agree with this person anymore. I don't remember it this way. Yeah, exactly. It's like, rubbish. This is so embarrassing.
What an idiot this guy is.
Correct him.
It's like when you watch YouTube videos that you made 10 years ago, you think, fucking what an idiot. What a wanker.
Done a few of them. Right. Okay, guys. I've got to shoot off as well. So, Epic Adam Motovlogs, thanks for coming along, mate. Quinn Peaks Rider and Nathan the Postman is your YouTube channel. Thanks for coming along. This is going out as a podcast.
Appreciate that.
No problem, mate. Anytime. If you're listening to this on the podcast, then the video on YouTube will have all the visuals and some other pictures that I'll throw up of the chap spikes and Quinn spikes and etc. So thanks very much for coming along, Nathan.
Pleasure.
Adam and Quinn. and it's been fantastic. And yeah, I guess I'll see you at the ABR, Nathan, with a few other people that you know.
We'll take you around the track on the postie. You book yourself in there. You just put yourself in.
I'm going up on the Thursday anyway, night before, with one of your good customers actually, and also
who's that?
I'm going with. I'm not sure if he wants to know. Matt, he's called, but
he's a good customer, is he?
Well, yeah, he's.
Oh, Matt with the ginger hair, Matt.
No. You'll see. I'm not sure. I can't say that. I don't know if you.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I just don't think. All right. Yeah. That's nice.
Oh, mate. And also Greg's going this way. Remember Greg? There's only one Greg.
Say again.
Gregory. Greg.
What is he coming?
Yeah. Anyway,
who's Greg?
You'll know him when you see him. He's been on your postie tours 2 or 3 times.
I know Greg. Greg.
Yeah.
Looks like a Brian. Looks like young Brian Blessed. When he's got
that's it. Yeah. So he's going up, and a few others as well. Anyway, I'll pop over and say hello anyway.
Yeah, nice. All right. Nice one, guys. Take it easy.
Thanks. Stay on after, lads, if you want to. I'm just going to
I'm going to make tea. I'm going to say
you
goodbye.
crack on, mate. That's fine. No worries. Thanks a lot for coming on, boys, and see you soon.
Cheers.
Cheerio.
Bye.
Bye.